What's up, Mr. Cordy?
How are you, Mr. Secretary?
Oh, I'm just doing some homework.
Same. I got a case brief I need to do. Dude, after finish this.
We are live.
Are you doing Baker v. Carr?
Yes, but we'll talk about that later.
That?
Yeah, we'll talk about that.
That's what I'm looking at right now. I'm losing my mind.
Okay.
Well,
We'll talk about that later.
Yes, later.
Since we are live, I'm going to go ahead and call this meeting to order at, wait for it, 7:01 p.m. Go ahead and get started. Asia, if you wouldn't mind doing roll call.
Okay. Awa?
Here.
Mason?
Here.
David Gonzalez?
Here.
Leslie?
Here.
Jalen? Okay. Oz?
Here.
Okay, good. Talawanami? Kendall? Here. Luis? Gia?
Here.
Manuel?
Here.
Merve? Merve, sorry. No, okay. Tessie? Shannon?
Here.
Anthony? Anthony
Here.
Cordy? Okay. Charles? David Stevens?
Here.
Daniel Motley?
Here.
Carmen?
Here.
Jared?
Here.
Nicolette? Tiana? Okay, no, Tiana's graduated. Nadira? Kellen? Jessica?
Here.
Amaya? James Taylor?
Present.
Taylor Urban?
Present.
Jocelyn Torres? And Valerie Miller? Okay.
Thank you, Asia. Could I get approval of the minutes, please?
So moved.
Thank you. And as for the agenda, I did take off appointments just because I have to run a special election that will be occurring very soon. So if I can get an approval of the amended agenda.
So moved.
Thank you. We don't have any student forum. We don't have any old business. As for new business, if someone could yield their time to Peyton, please.
I yield my time.
Thank you.
Gia. All right. So the Governing Docs Committee met yesterday. And also I just wanted to say sometimes my internet's a little weird. So if y'all can't hear me at any point, just type a message in the chat and I'll fix it. But yeah, so the Governing Docs Committee met yesterday and we just wanted the Senate's opinion on matters related to GPA requirements for members of SGA. So currently, the Executive Council and Chair Pro Tempore are required to maintain a 3.0 GPA on a 4.0 scale, and all other members of SGA are required to maintain a 2.75 on a 4.0 scale. So after careful consideration of that, we have decided to support amending the GPA requirements to be as follows: 2.75 on a 4.0 scale for Executive Council and Chair Pro Temp. So Chair Pro Temp, President, Vice President, and Attorney General, and a 2.5 on a 4.0 scale for all non-executive council members of SGA. So basically, we support these changes because we feel that they're a better reflection of the standard requirements for other campus organizations. So according to the CAP website, or the Campus Activities and Programs website, all members of student organizations are expected to maintain a 2.5 GPA on a 4.0 scale. So while we think it is appropriate for that executive council and chair pro temp to be held to a slightly higher academic standard, a requirement of a 3.0 may deter current members and potential members of SGA from running for executive council positions or that chair pro temp position, regardless of their potential to perform well in those roles. So we just feel that the adjustments to a 2.5 and a 2.75 respectively just reflect more realistic expectations for members, especially in light of the pandemic. So if anyone has any input on that, we are more than happy to hear it.
If anyone wants to contribute to the conversation, just please drop an X in the chat and I'll call on you.
And if anyone has questions also, please just let us know.
Sahin.
Does anybody need to yield their time for me since
I yield my time to Mr. Jones.
thank you. Shout out to you, Governor Docs. That is a great change, because this is something that we actually talked about in the last session. So I definitely believe that it'll be very helpful for everybody, just so that everybody can feel equitable. You know, sometimes GPA does not reflect somebody's how much they care about something, or better yet, work ethic. So so definitely, I believe that this is something that should definitely be passed. So yeah.
Thank you, Sahin. Gia?
Hey, so yeah, I definitely agree with everything. My only thing was, have we ever thought of just doing a baseline GPA for everybody so that everybody in SGA just has to have the same GPA? I don't think exec council should have to have a higher GPA. Just personally, I think if we're being equitable, your work ethic in SGA should show if you should be SGA president, not how well you do in a class. So I support this totally. I would just move in the name of equity to potentially just look at one singular baseline for everybody.
Thank you, Gia.
Thank you, Gia. I'll write that down.
Anyone else? Peyton?
If anyone isn't supportive of this, I think that's what we're mainly concerned with. If anyone, I mean, I've loved hearing all y'all's input, but if anyone is just very opposed to this for any reason, we want to hear why, just so that we're making sure that we take everybody's opinion into account.
Could someone yield the time to Milan, please?
I yield my time to Milan.
Thanks, Gia.
Thanks, Gia. I'm definitely in support of this. Sorry, my ex kind of came at an awkward time there. Definitely in support of this move. I would echo what Gia said, that I think that it should be a simple baseline for everybody. If SGA is a student organization like every else, then I think the 2.5 rule should be enacted. I would also just kind of have a question for Peyton. How do we want to go about, or what are your plans going about making this change official?
Yeah, so the GPA requirements, and anyone in the governing docs committee can add or pitch in or back me up on this one. So the GPA requirements are currently listed in the Constitution. So as we just move through the governing documents, that will be one of the amendments that is voted on at the time that those are voted on for the Constitution. And then also, I would say, I think if Kaylee's here, she may be able to speak to RHA a little bit more. Some of the reasoning behind the slightly elevated GPA for the executive council and then the chair pro temp position was to align with RHA's executive council GPA requirement. But again, Kaylee may have a little bit more information onto that, but I'm not personally necessarily opposed to a baseline GPA. And so I definitely hear you and Gia on that.
Is Kaylee here?
Yes, I was gonna put next in the chat, but I didn't know.
You can go ahead and respond if you want.
Okay, cool. So RHA's GPA requirement is a 2.5, but in our meeting yesterday, we did talk about how different programs on campus have higher GPAs for executive councils, which is why we came to that conclusion, which is why we kept the executive councils at a higher rate rather than just a baseline for everyone.
Thanks, Kaylee. Gia?
Oh, I just also wanted to mention that other schools do have the baseline GPA for their president. So like we wouldn't be like odd in the system if we did it, and they have it at a 2.5. So I just wanted to make sure like people knew like that's not just us doing us. There are other schools in the system that also do that.
Thank you, Gia. I'm writing that down too.
Thank you, Gia. Hans?
Okay, well, I mean, even if we were to be like the first people to do it, I mean, I think it would be setting a good example to be equitable, like you were saying, G, in the first place. Like, so even if like other organizations do have theirs hires, they can like look at us and see like, you know, maybe they should bring theirs down.
And just to echo what Austin said in the chat, he said that a 2/3 vote in the Senate and a referendum vote from the student body would implement it in the 100th session. Gia?
Yes, sorry, I wasn't clear on that.
So Peyton, just a question. If we were going to do this, would we put the referendum up in the special election so this would affect our general election, or would we wait for next session for this to take place?
So based on my interpretation of the way that it's outlined right now, it would not take effect until the 100th session. But I don't know. I would have to look a little bit more into that, but that's my surface level understanding.
Austin, response? If someone can yield their time to him.
I yield my time to Austin.
Thank you, Gia.
Thanks, Gia. So I guess like broadly, like with the governing documents committee is like we're looking at the entire constitution. And I think our goal is to bring forward like, you know, a slate of changes that we would like to make, revisions and whatnot. And then those would go for a vote by the Senate, then go to a referendum vote in this upcoming general election, I guess we could call it, if that's what we want to call it. You know, whenever we have like the whole entire spring election. And then they wouldn't be implemented until after, so the 100th session. Just to kind of clear that up, if anybody like disagrees or whatever, how we should go about doing that. That was my understanding. Thanks, so.
Thanks, Austin. Could someone yield their time to Milan, please?
I yield my time to Milan.
Thank you, Gia. Would it be possible not to like add any extra strain on the elections committee by any means, nor Gov Docs, but to kind of push this matter into effect with Ali's special election so that the 100th session could begin to operate under this scope, and then the rest of the changes to the referendum that governing docs has planned for the semester could then go up again in general elections in the spring. Payne?
Peyton?
Yeah, we can definitely talk about that. I think that sounds reasonable, but that's definitely something we can discuss. We're meeting on a weekly basis at this point, so yeah, we can definitely chat about that on Monday and between now and then.
Thanks, Peyton. Gia?
Oh, I was just going to say basically what Milan said. If we had the opportunity to make it more equitable quicker, why not take advantage of the special election if it wouldn't cause too much work on everybody with writing the legislation? That's all.
Thank you, Gia. Anyone else? Anthony.
So I think that we should do it also so it maximizes the amount of people that are participating, get more of the student participating in the so-called general election than you will the you can't hear, I'm cutting out.
Yeah, you're cutting out, Anthony.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, just a little jumpy.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I have my AirPods and they weren't working. But so I was gonna say I agree with Austin said about having it the general election so it maximizes the amount of people that are voting because more of the student body is gonna vote in the well, go ahead, Austin, if you want to go ahead. Maybe I said something wrong. I yield my time to Austin.
No, please finish, and if you yield after, you didn't say anything wrong. I just wanted to add something.
Oh, okay. So that way that more of the student body is voting because you're going to get more participation in that election than you would the spring one that whatever you're about to do in the next coming weeks is what I was going to say.
Austin, you can go ahead since Anthony already yielded it.
So what I was gonna add, part of the reason why I think we should go a little bit slower on this is just so we can get input from students to make sure this is something they would agree with. I think it would be strategically a bad decision to move quickly on this and then students not fully understand what they would be voting on and then effectively just be like, that sounds terrible because they're uninformed. I think we can do some type of campaigning and leading into that. And I know special elections are going to be a quick turnaround. That way we can get those seats filled as soon as possible. So if we can hold off on doing that and make sure the students are aware of what they would be voting on with special elections, especially whenever we're making such big decisions, such as amending the Constitution, I think that would be greatly important. Thanks.
Thanks, Austin. Can someone yield the time to Irving, please?
I yield my time.
Thank you.
This may just be my ignorance, but like, why would we be waiting to the 100th session if this would be getting voted on in the general election that is for the 99th session?
Can someone yield the time to Austin?
I yield my time.
Thank you.
Austin.
Thank you.
Thanks. And if anybody else wants to like add into this, the reason why we'd wait to the 100 session is because the general election or the spring election that would be coming up would be voting for the 99th session. So it wouldn't make sense to have that legislation go up and then that not even be passed. Let's say like students do fail it, not even be passed. It just doesn't exactly work out. So we'd have to wait to the 100.
Thank you, Austin. Gia?
Wouldn't it go into effect the special elections of the 99th session though? Like in the fall, if it was passed in the spring?
Austin said it could. Austin, if you'd like to elaborate, someone could yield the time to you.
I'll yield my time if you would like to elaborate.
I guess not. So could someone yield the time to Milan, please?
I can.
Thanks, Gia.
Thank you, Gio. Question. So if in theory, if students were to pass this during the spring general election, it would then go into effect in the fall special elections for the 99th session. But wouldn't that then make it unfair for students who wanted to take their chances at bidding for president, vice president, AG, or pro tem? How could we kind of even out that playing field for everybody at once?
Gia, you were first.
I was just gonna say, like, I feel like unless you either make it cleanly start with the 100th session or do it before or do it with special elections, it's not gonna be fair. There would be a gap somewhere. So you would have to do it one way or the other. That's just the perspective I'm looking at it at. But I'll also yield my time to Austin and let him explain that. I hope that makes sense. But yeah.
Go ahead, Austin.
Yeah, basically, Gia, that's kind of like my understanding. I think that, if you start it or like, let's say like it passes for the in the spring election and it comes in like mid-year, you could have like some type of issue where, students who are representing students in the 99th session would be like fall under certain qualification. I feel like that would just make it messy and different rule sets could apply and stuff like that. I think you could just prevent all that by just starting in the 100th session. Does it create like a gap in consistency? Sure, but let's say we didn't make this revision at all, then that consistency would continue. At least like we're fixing it, in like in what's the word, like there's a word I'm thinking of, but like it would make that change for the 100 session and help students there, and I feel we could sleep at night knowing that students who have a certain GPA would be able to run in the 100 session and start that centennial session out properly. But I hope that answers the question. Thank you, Anthony, for yielding your time.
Thank you, Anthony, again for yielding your time to Saheem. Saheem, go ahead.
I do have a question. Maybe I'm not understanding something. So let's fast forward. Rewind. You're about to do in the special elections to fill in the holes that we have now for this is the 98th session, correct? Are you about to do that?
Yes.
So if we put this referendum inside of our special election that takes place in the 98th, so in this special interest election, wouldn't it take effect in the 99th when we do another election, if I'm not mistaken? Because we're about to technically do 2 elections in this one time frame just to fill in these little gaps. I know everybody's saying like we want to make sure that everybody, all the people that's going to be voting on this understands. If we need to, we can release like videos, explaining everything we're trying to do. But I'm just saying, if we want to get this cranked out quicker, if we do it in this election to fill in the gaps for the Senate seats that are missing now, and then take place when we start looking for the 99 sessions, president, AG, and vice president, pro tempore, then wouldn't that, all fit together like a puzzle piece, if I'm not mistaken?
Gia, go ahead.
I was just going to kind of agree with Saheem. I think if we wanted to put it in special elections, we could roll out a publicity plan. I don't mind working on that. It'd be a little bit more work on me, but I'm willing to do it because I think it's important if we have a chance to make it more equitable for students sooner to go ahead and do it. I don't think we should sit on it. That's just my opinion, though.
Could someone yield the time to Austin, please?
I yield my time.
Thank you.
Thanks, Gia. I think like this is a good discussion, and I think the details of implementation and stuff like that can definitely like be discussed like in detail and whatnot. I think that's the big gray area that like we're sitting at. But I think Peyton and Kaylee both like agree that we wanted to present this just to see like how do we feel about the 2.75 adjustment from the 3.0 and adjusting all other positions down to 2.5. I'm not sure, maybe we just all agree on that and like we're good to go. But I just wanted to make sure like we are staying not on topic, because I guess like there wasn't a true topic, but to make sure like we're all like on the same page type thing.
Thanks, Austin. Can someone yield the time to Peyton, please?
I yield my time.
Thank you, Gia.
Yeah, and I was just gonna say, even if we're not 100% clear on whether it's gonna be the 2.5 and the 2.75 versus a baseline GPA of 2.5, that's something that the Governing Docs Committee can definitely discuss. We just wanted to make sure that everyone was in favor of actually lowering that GPA threshold. That was, in my opinion, the most important thing, because we were unsure how that was gonna go. So, yeah, if there are specifics that you would like for us to discuss, I know I've written down several things that Gia and Milan have brought up, and then Saheem also. But if there's specifics that you want us to discuss, like feel free to email me or email Kaylee, and just let us know. But yeah, like Austin said, that was the main thing.
I definitely second what Peyton said, and definitely what Daniel just said. I was going to say that we should just have a poll real quick to just lower. I mean, to see if you all want to lower it, and then we can go from there and seeing if you want a 2.75 or a baseline of 2.5, just to get an idea of everyone and where they're at. So, if we could just drop a poll in there.
Yeah, I can make a poll real quick and send it out over Zoom. This just won't count like for any voting type thing, just because it's a generic poll, just to get like a feeler gauge. So just give me a second, I'll set that up.
Thank you, Austin. Yes, I think since it's a general poll, we all can. So everyone can vote on this, not just senators. In the meantime, I hope you all have had a great start to your semesters. I know for me, it's been pretty busy. Yeah, it's definitely going, Saheem. I feel that.
Okay, it should have popped up on everybody's thing. Yeah, y'all are voting. Good.
Thanks, Austin. We should have a total of 39 votes by the end because there's 39 people on this call.
Okay, we're at 84%. So just about 5 more people.
And then I guess once you get those numbers, we can report it to Peyton and then go from there.
There's still 4 more people who haven't voted. Well, 3 now. If you could just vote real quick, and that way I can end this. Oh, gotcha.
Oh, thanks, Meredith. I brushed over that.
Sorry, I was talking. I was muted. 68% in favor of yes, 21% in favor of no, and then 12% abstaining with the advisors not counted. And I'll send the screenshot to you, Peyton.
Could someone yield the time to Irving, please?
I do.
Thanks, Anthony.
Sorry to go back on this topic, but like for the people who said no, is there anyone that like feels comfortable like saying why? Because I think that could help the governing docs committee when we talk on Monday to figure things out. So if that negative feedback is helpful.
I was just about to ask. Thanks, Irving. So if anyone who voted no is comfortable, please drop your X in the chat and let us know what you think. Saheem. If someone could yield their time to Saheem.
I yield my time to Mr. Jones.
I didn't say no, just throw that there. I didn't say no, but if you don't feel comfortable, please shoot them an email. I understand that, we're live and everything. And if you don't feel comfortable saying why you didn't say something, please just shoot them an email because, what we do now will affect sessions after today. So you got to make sure that we're being equitable to all sessions and make sure what we're doing will have a lasting impact. So please, if you don't feel comfortable saying something on like camera on Zoom, please just shoot Peyton Ollie and all of the governing docs an email just so that they can all just get this data together. It's very important.
Thanks, Saheem. I was just definitely about to say that you could definitely email Peyton, you can email Kaylee, even myself or Austin or Irving and Cam and whoever else is in the committee. Yeah, just to make sure that we're hearing what you're saying, no matter if you would like to share it here or anywhere else. Peyton, someone can yield the time to Peyton.
I'll yield.
Thank you.
Thank you, Gia. Yeah, I was gonna just echo what Saheem was saying, and we'll keep any commentary anonymous. So like if you email us, my mic cut out a little bit. So if someone's already said this, just ignore me. But yeah, basically if you send us anything, negative feedback, like Irving said, is very helpful. So if you have a more specific suggestion, or if you just think it should stay at 3.0 and 2.75, please let us know. And we're not gonna like share your name or anything. We'll just share your feedback and talk about it.
Thanks, Peyton. James?
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna speak up and say I personally said no because I mean, in my personal opinion, a 2.75 or 2.5, that's really low. That's to me, that's just plain and simple not good. And as SGA, I kind of feel like we're supposed to set an example for the rest of the school, that, we not only do we care about the other students, but I mean, we're hardworking and we really put in the work to do what we do. And I mean, I don't know the way I was raised. I like if I got less than a 3.0, my parents would disown me. So I mean, I just think we should set an example by not lowering the standards of what it takes to be an SGA. Personally,
Thank you for sharing your opinion, your voice, James. Definitely will take that into consideration and speak about it at the meeting. And I definitely appreciate you being comfortable with sharing what you thought. Edmund.
I retract my X.
Okay. Daniel.
Yeah, just to echo what James was saying, just like with student athletes, we're supposed to be students first, and then we're going to be participating in student body organizations second. So if someone doesn't have, I mean, it's definitely an interesting thing to discuss because at what point do we say a GPA is acceptable? At what point do we say it's unacceptable? So I do think the 3.0 was a solid goal. And I also come from the background of, failing an entire semester and dropping out and then coming back on academic renewal. So without the academic renewal, my GPA would be like a 2.5. So I wouldn't even be able to be in my current position without the proper acclimation. So, I think it's definitely worth discussing, maybe not in this meeting right now, but at a different point. I also want to position a question of, are students coming to anyone else about this, about wanting to participate, but they're being hindered by their GPA as it stands?
Thank you, Daniel. Austin, if someone can yield the time to Austin, please.
Hi, yo.
Hey, yeah, I just wanted to mention back. So last year, Daniel, I had a handful of students who like applied to positions in the exec or no, the legislative board whenever I was the vice president. And I remember there was like 5 or 6 people who, were solid all around students. I knew them personally and everything, but they just didn't have like the GPA requirement. And personally, I thought that was like, that was awful that they weren't able to get there. So yeah, like, I think there is in some situations students who do want to get involved who don't quite have the GPA requirement, but I don't think that affects their leadership in any way. Just a direct response to that.
Thanks, Austin. Yeah, just real quick before I call on Gia, when I was running the campaign for this session, I was asking students every single time that I was out and about what they thought about the GPA requirements for SGA, and some did say, I would say it was about a 50-50 split. Some did say that they should lower it because that doesn't deem leadership in SGA, and some did say you should keep it, if not increase it, because we have to be an example. So there are varying opinions, varying like views on this, and I just definitely want to get everyone's honest opinions and ideas on this so we can go about restructuring this for the oncoming sessions. Gia, in response though.
Yeah, I was just gonna say that when I was elections chair, I had a lot of people who came to me wanting to run for Senate position but couldn't because of the GPA. I also know when I did the vice presidential special election, it came up. And I think it's also important to remember that when it comes to learning in higher education, a lot of institutions in higher education were built for cis white people, and that's who they primarily educate. So people don't always have the same resources or lack of resources, and they always didn't come from the same place and same starting place. So we need to consider that when saying what's a good GPA, what's not a good GPA, and think about how systems of oppression affect people and not just say if you're below a 3.0. That's just my opinion.
Thank you, Gia. Could someone yield the time to Kendall, please?
I'll yield my time to Kendall.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you. So I was just saying in response, like I can understand why people would say no to decreasing the GPA, but I think we also have to consider like some people take hard hits one time during semester and their GPA can drop, or like it gives people kind of a leeway just because they have like a bad semester, they are still to be able to be involved. So I think we should also take that into consideration. I mean, of course, we should set a standard for students, but I think somebody could have like a 3.3 and then take a hard hit and then it could just drop. So we should take that into consideration.
I definitely get that, Kendall, because I did have like a 3.4 at one point, and then I had a bad class drop to a 2.8, and I'm back in the threes again. But I definitely get that. Edmund.
Yeah, I'm just sort of gonna echo with like what's already been said. Like, I definitely understand, the like wanting to set an example. And I definitely think like as student leaders, like that is our job to set an example. However, a GPA, like that doesn't define who you are as a character and like who you are as a person. And I think that like starting with us, we need to stop thinking that like a good GPA means that you're like this amazing person. Because, and I'm not trying to be shady or disrespectful when I say this, the last session, the exec council, they had 3.0s and we saw how that went. So just because you have a 3.0 does not mean that you're like qualified to do the job. Like I've seen plenty of people, as already been said, like who don't meet the requirement GPA wise, but they're more than deserving to, be student leaders. Leading isn't about how good you can perform, because like not everyone is the best when it comes to like learning in the classroom. That's just a fact. I'm a good leader, but I'm not the best when it comes to in the classroom because that's just not my strength. So I just think that we need to stop trying to associate the two when they don't really have anything to do with each other, and just really think about that when we're talking about changing this this requirement for the betterment of students. Students who can lead should be able to lead, and just because they have a lower GPA doesn't mean anything. I mean, RAs can be RAs at 2.5, and I can respond to a call at midnight or 3 a.m. and it's something about suicide or anything else. But they're not saying, oh, you have a 2.5, you're not qualified for this. If someone with a 2.5 can do that, I don't see why they can't sit here in the Zoom call in SGA and lead students. But that's just my opinion.
Thanks for the perspective, Edmund. I appreciate that sentiment. Jared.
I also want to echo Edmund on the point that he made about being in the RA position. We're both in that position as residential senators as well, and we're both required to keep a 2.5 GPA while being in this position. And we work. There's no specific time that we're supposed to work other than the actual assigned nights that we're supposed to be doing duty. And then after that, it's pretty much a free-for-all whenever a student comes to us, and a multitude of other issues that we run into. We're required to keep the 2.5 GPA, and I think that that same GPA requirement should be able to be applied here to the senator position, and the 2.75 GPA requirement be applied to executive positions. And I think that we also need to be very careful about the language that we use, that is an accidental expression of educational elitism. I think that us having better GPAs than the next person who wants to run for election, I think that, they deserve that opportunity as well. So that's pretty much all I have to say about that. Thank you.
Thank you for that perspective, Jared. Peyton, someone can yield the time to Peyton.
I'll yield to Peyton.
Yeah, thank you, Gia. Jared and Gia both kind of hit on everything that I was gonna say, and I think that our main goal with this was just making it more equitable. I think a lot of times, like Jared said, he used the word elitism, and that was something that we really talked about in our meeting last night. We don't want to be an organization that reflects the elitism that unfortunately permeates a lot of aspects of higher education. I do think that, standards are important, but that doesn't always necessarily reflect in academics. So I think that, if there's a way to maybe lower this GPA requirement, but still make sure that we're being attentive to student skills and what they're capable of doing in these positions, while still holding them accountable for their jobs, then that is completely okay. And I think that, we should be asking ourselves what we can do to better support one another so that we can achieve higher and attain, higher GPAs. So, but that's less to do with capability and more to do with just the sense of community that SGA has and the university has. So I think that's definitely important. I appreciate everyone's perspectives on this. I think this is a really good conversation. There's also, not a whole lot in the governing documents about, potential extenuating circumstances. I know several people mentioned, having a bad semester, and that happens to the best of us. So I think, that may be something that we can consider also in our meeting on Monday with the pandemic. I think also that's something that we had brought that up for that reason. A lot of people have, myself included, have had a tough time with the pandemic. The online setting is not necessarily conducive to everyone's learning style, and then circumstances just beyond that. So thank you so much to everyone who's given their input and who will give their input after me, because we really value it. And if I am looking down, I promise I'm taking notes. I'm not on my phone.
Thanks, Peyton. I know there's a long list, so Daniel, I'm sorry for the wait.
It is all good. All of you brought up excellent points, and by what I said earlier, that was not a reflection of my opinion on the matter. I think that GPA requirements are in fact elitist, and I think that sets a inequitable goal for people to try and reach that may come from various socio-demographic backgrounds. And I'm for just getting rid of it altogether for student groups, because a freshman who is new, when I was a freshman, I ended up having like a 1.7 GPA overall. And whenever I went into the spring semester, I wasn't removed. I was still a student. So in that respect, if someone is elected to the freshman senator position and then the spring semester rolls around, are they going to get booted because their overall GPA is a certain, is 1.7? Like, no, I don't think that's true, because we are all still students. So the position should be available to all students. It's a reflection to our democracy in general that anyone can run, so regardless of your background or stature. So that's kind of my thoughts on the matter. I'm not sure if we can actually implement a no GPA requirement, but I definitely believe if we're trying to set an example and lead into a path more of equity, then I think we should do that instead.
Thanks, Daniel. I appreciate you playing the devil's advocate and seeing the other side of things. Milan, if someone can yield their time to Milan, please.
I yield my time.
Thank you, Mr. Gayton. So kind of to go off of a lot of things here, I think that someone's GPA is really contingent on what career they want to have. And everyone defines success in the classroom differently and needs a different type of success in the classroom to be successful in what they want to do. So if we're really here to further students' careers or grad school aspirations, then it's necessary for us to kind of meet students where they are. If you want to go to law school, you should be prepared to have a 3.8, 3.9. If you want to go into higher education, you should be prepared to have a 3.0 or 2.75. And so everyone is kind of working towards a different goal. But at the end of the day, we're all students. I think another good point to bring up here is that by creating a GPA requirement, we're saying that the voices of everybody who is below that threshold don't hold weight. And, the counter argument to that is, well, we have senators who will reach out to those students. But it doesn't matter because you're then speaking for them, but not allowing them to have a voice for themselves. So that's kind of the main reason why I would push for the lower GPA, just because there's so many students that we're excluding from the table, but yet the decisions that we make as this body affects all those students. It affects those on academic warning, and it affects those who may be next up for valedictorian, and everybody in between. So I think that's an important consideration when we're deciding what our role is here. And it's more beneficial for us to allow people to speak for themselves than to speak on behalf of others. And yes, different students experience different challenges in higher education because it wasn't built for everybody, and we'll never be able to get past that. We just need to provide an equitable amount of resources and support to those students who, unfortunately, were left behind.
Thanks for that, Milan. As someone who's going into higher education and I definitely appreciate that side of things as well. Saheem, in response to something that happened like 10 minutes ago.
Oh, I low-key forgot, but I think I remember. So what I was going to say is something sort of along the lines like, I like to give personal experiences. So personally, me, I low-key wasn't eligible for, I think it was Proton Port, it was way back when, just because of my GPA. I believe that was one of the reasons. Because back then I had like a 2.91 something, where you need at least a 3.0. I'm like right there at the cusp. I'm like 0 point something points away. So that is what I think of like GPA standards is like kind of barbaric, because like I love SGA. I put a lot of things into SGA. My work ethic should speak for me for when I come to like getting new positions. So sometimes I believe like, yeah, GPAs are barbaric when it comes to that situation, and people should be able to run for what they think they are able to do and what they feel qualified for. But great conversation for everyone. I really enjoy all these points everyone is making, and yeah, we are still here for the students.
Thank you, Saheem. Anthony?
I just have a quick question. This was in the spring. We voted on this in the spring, correct? Something similar?
I believe it was something similar last spring, yes.
Okay, thank you.
Gia?
Yeah, a lot of people have already said what I was going to say. I was just going to say, make sure that we're avoiding elitism, because students already have felt in the past that SGA is elitist before, and they have called us out on it. So just making sure that we aren't thinking we're above or we need a better GPA to be better, and that we just recognize that all students' voices matter, and we're creating policies that promote that and are equitable to all students.
Thanks, Gia. If someone could yield their time to Austin, please.
Yes.
Thank you, Gia. First, I wanted to say, good job, everyone, for having a really respectful conversation. I know that whenever we're talking about, topics such as these that involve elitism, privilege, and whatnot, that sometimes it could be a heated conversation. I just want to extend, gratitude to everybody for definitely, taking the respectful route and hearing each other and listening to each other's perspectives and thoughts. I think that this conversation can be one of the bigger debates that we have, not only in the session, but in student government in general. Deciding where there are limitations on who can hold offices and what are those limitations. I think that's a very important conversation. And with that, it comes a lot of responsibility that we are putting on ourselves. I think, to our friends who, do disagree with adjusting the GPA requirement, I would strongly encourage you to, don't fold because the weight of everybody else is against you or anything like that. Please bring that perspective to the table, because that's only going to make what we do more meaningful and impactful. And not everybody is going to agree with, adjusting the GPA in the student body. And maybe there is a imbalance of students here who do agree with that, and that voice needs to be represented just as importantly as what seems to be the majority. So I just wanted to encourage everybody to, give yourself a pat on the back for having a very good civil discussion and, you know, talking about these very important points and bringing, you know, your personal situation and stories into it, and, you know, make sure that we are being very thoughtful and considerate about the decisions that we are putting ourselves in the position of making. So thanks, Joel.
Thanks, Austin. James.
All right, yeah, real quick. Yeah, I appreciate everybody's opinion on the matter. But real quick, I just wanted to ask, because I don't want to be the only person that seems like they said no, like, because based on everyone else's arguments, it seems like everyone else would have said yes. But like, can I get anyone else's opinion like that said no? Because like, I don't, you know, I already know people are probably thinking, oh God, look at James. He thinks he's so smart because he has a high GPA. He thinks GPA all that matters. I mean, I really don't think like that. I don't think people should be gauged or judged based on their GPA alone. But I mean, it's just that GPA is one of the main tangible ways that you can see how hard relatively someone is, you know, working or trying in school. And I mean, I just don't think it would set a good precedent to lower the GPA to below a 3.0, which is, I mean, it's basically a solid, I guess, B. And I mean, even if you're talking about like getting an internship or something like that, that's like the bare minimum. I mean, the real bare minimum is like 2.75, but I mean, you don't have that very good internship prospects or even job prospects if you're just going to an employer with 3.0. And I don't, it's just, I don't know. It's a principle thing for me. I just don't think we should lower it to below a 3.0. But if I could get someone else's opinion on the matter, because I don't want to be the only seem like the only person that said no, that would be great.
Thanks, James. James, I would like to appreciate you for speaking up as well as just making one statement. If we all could maintain neutral during this time, I saw a couple of faces being made of the comments of James. I would appreciate that because we all have varying ideas and opinions and we got to respect one another. Tulawanami?
Okay, so I was gonna say something. So I didn't say no, but I said abstain. And I definitely do agree with you, James, because I was thinking that I was listening to what everyone was saying before I wanted to talk. So first of all, I was thinking that I do agree with what James said about having like high standards, because I just realized that for other applications you have to do like around campus for like jobs and other things, like they have like usually most of them have like a 2.75 GPA, or you have to have like a 3.0 GPA. So I do think that we should definitely set the standards high, because if you're gonna hold such a high position, you do have to like lead by example. I do understand that other people actually sometimes have struggles and challenges, and like they could have like a bad semester. But I was thinking with other people bringing that up, that we could, instead of like lowering it that low, we could like find like a medium or middle ground. Like it could be like a little bit lower, but not too low. So everyone's kind of like satisfied. I don't really know if anyone agrees with what I'm saying.
Thanks, Tulawanami. David?
You tomorrow. Yes, I will come to the aid of James, as he seemed to request. I voted no. Really, in a way, I'm inclined to be abstentious on the subject. I'm not entirely passionate about it either way, but I will say that, of course, lowering standards is a rather popular thing to do, it seems to me. But I think our goal here is student success. And so it could be that the best way to encourage that is to encourage success at school, which is really what the point of the university is. And good grades are part of that. And I think that there is such a thing as good grades. And it's rather difficult to proceed in life if you fail at this point. And so our goal should be to encourage that students are able to succeed academically and otherwise. I think high standards are part of that, and without them it would be difficult to persuade students that we take their success seriously. It's not my intent to be heuristic or contentious, but it does seem that I understand James's point, And it seems from your experience, Ali, with students around campus, I think you said it was about half and half. And so I think we should keep that in mind as well. We seem to have a considerable unanimity here, but it would perhaps be well to keep the students in mind as well. If it is closer to 50-50, to try to reflect that and keep in mind the people that we're here to listen to and ensure their success, which is the students. So thanks very much.
Thank you for speaking up, David. Definitely appreciate that. Austin, if someone can yield the time to Austin, please.
I yield my time to Austin.
Thanks, Kendall.
Thanks, Kendall. So to James and David, I definitely appreciate that perspective, and I don't disagree that there are standards for good grades and and whatnot. I strongly believe that the standard for good grades is a highly subjective term. And I think that is the biggest point that, adjusting the GPA requirement is adding to. James, you made a point where you said, that students have in-school priorities for having good grades. And that's one of the priorities that you have. And I think that's a very solid priority to have. But I would like to, pivot that to explain how the GPA doesn't explain the full character of a student and their success at UNCG or any other university in the UNC system or in the nation. UNCG has been working very hard to change the way that you have your curriculum brought to you. Dr. Hamilton has made a major push to make sure that there are like benchmarkers that you hit on your way to make sure that you are succeeding in completing your coursework effectively, to make sure that you have the right major for you. And that's something that is being brought in, for students in this time. And that's definitely going to make sure that students are staying on the right track for academic success. But not all students, were privileged to have that opportunity to begin with. And that's not a fault of UNCG. That's not a fault of anyone in particular. That's just something that I think Dr. Hamilton is bringing to UNCG very uniquely. And I think that's a very important thing that we have. So whenever we look at students, that haven't had the particular grades to stand out on in their freshman year, maybe they did make some choices that hurt them academically, and in turn damage their GPA from being able to be above a 2.75 or above a 3.0. That can hurt them long term. And considering that there are very few degree points that you can achieve to break your GPA to a higher number, you have 1 point, 2 points above an A to be able to increase your GPA. That can be very challenging to improve your GPA overall. It doesn't matter if you make A's for the rest of your time at UNCG, you could very well stay below a 3.0 and never have that opportunity your senior year, maybe your second year of being a senior, to be able to run for president, vice president, chair pro tempore, or it could bar you from being a part of the student government in general. And I think that's something that we are actively trying to change. It's not to lower the standards, it's to make sure that students who did make mistakes their freshman, their sophomore year aren't permanently disabled from being able to be a part of the Student Government Association and being able to be student leaders in this organization. That's I don't know if I'm allowed to do this, but like if I could yield to James since he wanted to respond to what I said, just so he has a chance to have that response. I don't know if that's even allowed. Ali, would you allow that?
Yeah, I was actually about to say, if anyone doesn't mind, I was going to skip everyone else until I get James's response, just because it was directly to yours. James.
Okay, yeah, really appreciate that, Austin. But I mean, I agree with like most of what you're saying. Like, GPA definitely isn't, the end all be all indicator of how good a student is. I mean, just look at a lot of our CEOs. They dropped out of college. I mean, look at Edward Snowden. He's an American hero, and he hated school. He didn't do that good in school. I mean, GPA, I mean, it's obviously, it's not the biggest indicator of how good of a student or even how good of a, a worker or a person you are. But I mean, it's just like, it's just a principle belief. Like I've always been taught, do good in school, try, and I mean that's just it's just how I was raised. But like I definitely understand, things can happen where at least you getting bad grades in life. I mean, me, like I was literally inches away from losing my scholarship in my senior year of high school, like because of my last semester, like I was doing not so good because I was working like 35 hours a week in my job. I was just being a bum, like honestly, just being a bum. And I definitely see where you're coming from, but it's just a principal belief of mine that I mean, you should try to work as hard as you can to like get as high of a grade you can in school. I mean, because GPA, as I said before, it's one of the most tangible ways that you can see how good someone is doing in school. So, I mean, if you just keep on lowering that standard, I mean, I don't know where the standard's gonna go. You know what I'm saying? But yeah.
Thanks, James. Austin in response, and then following Austin, David in response to that, and then I'll hop back in order.
Yeah, so James, I would like to ask you a question if you would you say that a 4.0 that a freshman has is equivalent to I would say a 3.0 that a senior has? And I guess if you want to answer that, you could, but I guess it could be more of like a rhetorical question if you don't want to answer it. I would say no, that those aren't equivalent. It makes the freshmen look as if they have a stronger GPA, but the reality is that they have a lot less credits under their belt that's going to make their GPA look stronger. And whenever you get to the upper levels of being at UNCG, your sophomore, junior, senior year, you tend to have a lot more counting against you than to help you improve your GPA to get it to a place where you want to be. And I think, taking that into consideration, I feel that the principle of holding, the standard of a good GPA is countered because there is so much weight that goes into a GPA to show, a student's academic standing as being good or not. And I think, a GPA is kind of a faulty metric to prove, how well a student is doing. I would say maybe a better metric would be, what is that student's standing at the university, whether they're in good or bad academic standing, or whether they're in good or bad conduct standing. I think that would be a better metric. But I think the compromise would be to include some type of GPA requirement. So the 2.5 for all members, 2.75 for chair pro tempore and executive council.
James, if you'd like to answer, you could.
Yeah, right. I definitely get it. Like, I mean, responding to the, I guess, rhetorical question, obviously a 4.0 for a freshman isn't equivalent to, a 3.0 for a senior, because I mean, just statistically, you don't have as big as a sample size, so you can't really make a accurate, estimation of how good a student's doing that has barely been in school. But yeah, I definitely see where you're coming from. I mean, again, it's just a principal belief. I mean, you might not agree, but I mean, it's, I mean, to me, just like below 3.0, that's just not, I don't know. It's just not that good to me personally. Just my personal opinion. Just my personal opinion.
Thanks, James. I appreciate you standing up for what you believe in and definitely sharing your voice. Back into the line. No, actually, David, in response to Austin from earlier.
Yes, that was some time ago. Let me think. Thank you for your comments, Austin. I thought what you said about not wishing to lower standards, but to ensure responsibility was good, while at the same time ensuring that students who have perhaps had a bad beginning or a bad semester in the past aren't barred from being able to be in the Senate, which I think is a good idea. Perhaps we could find some ground where perhaps a student is required to have a 3.0 as of have maintained a 3.0 for the last semester. I don't know how that would be implemented or what that would look like, if it's even possible, actually. But or your idea of being in good standing might be a better way to proceed. I am sympathetic in some ways to what James is saying, and of course, a GPA is not the only measure of success, nor would I ever think so. But it is objectively a measure, and one that does have some degree of importance, seeing that you cannot graduate from college without a certain GPA. So thanks for everyone's comments, and I move that perhaps at some point in the not so far off future, we get to the next thing. Thank you.
Thank you, David. I don't want to silence anyone's voices. I just saw that Anthony and Tanisha both rejected their exes. I know you all were further up on the list. I'm just trying to get everyone, and I don't know if you want to put a cap on this, like about how much time we want to spend on this, but we seem to be talking about the same type of. So I'm just reading the chat. Same type of opinions, and just going back and forth on beliefs and stuff. But I just wanted to make sure we get everyone. Peyton, in response, some Gila time.
I had my time, Peyton.
Thank you, Kendall. Yeah, I was just gonna say I'm dropping my email address and my phone number in the chat. I obviously don't want to cut the conversation short. If anyone else has anything important to say, I really loved hearing all of your perspectives. But if there's anything that you would just be comfortable sharing over email or over text rather than in the meeting, so we are able to move on, please feel free to do that. I will read and respond to everyone. So yes.
Thanks, Peyton. I'm going to go ahead and just finish up with whatever we have left on the list over here. So next would be Jessica.
I also retract my ex.
Thanks, Jessica. Awa?
I was just going to say that for the middle ground perspective, I was going to say that we could rather include both GPA, but then also include that, and it's an optional thing where they can also include leadership experience, and then or add a reference for somebody to show that they are able to fulfill the position in a way. So yeah, that's all I was going to say.
Do you need anything?
Anthony, would you mind muting yourself, please? Thank you. And thank you, Awa. Gia?
Okay, so the only point that I was going to make is, when did we start looking at SGA as being such a high position and not just students coming together to advocate for other students? You do not need a certain GPA to advocate for other students and the needs of other students. And we need to remember that is the goal of SGA, not to be in a higher position, not to be in a higher power, not to have more power, but to truly advocate for students. And I don't see how having a certain GPA is going to hinder that. That's just me. I just think it's important to remember that. Thank you.
Thanks, Gia. Once again, I'm just going to finish up with the next couple of people, and then we can just wrap up this conversation, and then you can forward any questions you have to Peyton or anyone else on the governing docs committee. Edmund?
Hey, I was just gonna say sort of what you said earlier. It sounded like we're starting to like go around in circles with this conversation. So I think, we should just wrap this up. And if you have any more discussion, like questions, or want to talk more, reach out to someone in the governing doc community so we can be a little more productive with this conversation.
Thank you, Edmund. Irving, you reject your ex. We are all caught up. So we can move on if there's no one else. All right, I'm going to go ahead and move on into executive reports. Let me go ahead and share my screen. Austin, if you could share those capabilities, please.
Do you have those now?
Yes.
I did earlier. I don't know why it didn't work. My bad.
Thanks, Austin. You go ahead.
Well, folks, I just want to say thank you for the really respectful conversation, bringing in different perspectives and different ideas. I think that's exactly what student government is all about, and I want to commend you all for that. I'll keep it nice, short, sweet, and simple. Picture on the left is from a trip that I took to the mountains. Beautiful, beautiful landscape. We really love mountains. I will be having office hours tomorrow from 1 to 5. So if you want to stop by and see me then, by all means. This is what I've been up to. I think the highlight would be I'm planning a day for shadowing. So if you've reached out to me, look out for an email in the probably the next week or so of a day to shadow with me. That way you get kind of a well-rounded experience of what does the student body president do, and what you can expect to do. And doing the governing documents review committee, it was a great experience. If you're interested, I'm not sure if Peyton and Kaylee are still allowing people to join, but it's a great experience to be able to talk about Constitution, governing documents in general. So want to throw that out there. More perspective is always useful. Go ahead, Ollie. So what I'll be doing coming up is completing the diversity EDU for the provost search. I heard that it's like a 3-hour training, so I'm gonna have to set some time aside to do that, make sure that I'm ready for the provost search. Doing classes. I'm still waiting to hear back on the Higher Education Emergency Relief Fund. You've probably seen it mentioned as an acronym, but maybe you didn't know what the acronym actually stood for on wildfire. It's a fund that's similar to what we had back in the spring to give money to students, for emergency funds and whatnot. Students who have a certain level of support, financially based off of their FAFSA. It will allow you to receive money from the federal government, a part of the stimulus package. Still waiting back to hear from Dr. Hamilton on that, so I will keep you all posted whenever I do. That way we can get that information out to students as effectively as possible. I'll be meeting with Cam and Tynasia probably Thursday. I should probably respond to that tag, so if y'all are listening, I'll probably see you Thursday. Executive cabinet meetings will be coming up soon, and searching for a Secretary of Media Affairs. This leads into my question. Do you know anyone interested in this position? Are you interested in this position? Want to know more? You want somebody else to know more? Please let me know. I'd be more than happy to provide you with information of what that position entails and anyone interested. But other than that, I'm gonna pass it on to Ali to pass it on to Peyton, and then to Ali. You know how it goes. All right, thanks, y'all. Bye.
Thanks, Austin. Peyton, go ahead.
Hey y'all, hope everyone's having a good week so far. So these are my office hours so far. I'm missing 2, so I'm trying to fit those in somewhere, but I'll be doing virtual office hours 10:45 to 12:30, 10:45 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. Tuesday and Thursday, and then 8 to 1 on Friday. So just email me if you need anything. I will be online on Zoom during that time. So if you need the Zoom link, want to meet about anything, just shoot me an email, text me, let me know, and we can set something up. There's my phone number, my email address. I know I put that in the chat also, but if you have anything else to add about governing docs, about the GPA thing, about anything else that you feel like I could address, please feel free to reach out. So just what I've been up to. We are looking for a new co-director for the Office of Student Rights and Responsibilities. So I've been helping out with those interviews, and it's been great meeting all the candidates. I have been working with the graduate assistant, Marcus, in the OSRR on conduct team recruitment. I just wanted to make sure that you all knew to be on the lookout for that link. I would love to see some of y'all's names in those applications. So that'll be coming up soon. I think that there are so many people in SGA right now who would really enjoy and thrive in a position on the conduct team. So if that's something you're interested in, also my email address, my phone number are right there. So you're more than welcome to reach out with any comments, questions, concerns, if you just want to learn more, that kind of thing. Been planning for conduct team meetings. We're having our first one on the 8th. I just wrapped up individual meetings with my conduct team members, and that was awesome. had a really great time hearing all their goals for the semester, how they felt about last semester, hearing their feedback. I'm super grateful for the team that I have this year. They're doing an amazing job. We had the governing docs committee meeting. That's pretty obvious. I just talked about it. So yeah, that is what I've been up to. That's what I've been up to recently. The photo on the left is something that I really encourage you guys all to check out. I'm sorry, all of you to check out. Cameron Farrar, most of you are probably, or some of you at least, are probably familiar with him. He's also a student at UNCG, works in HRL, and he's doing a series for Black History Month where he does a deep dive into a specific topic or person every day of the month, and it is absolutely incredible. He's been doing it for the past 3 years, wrote an article on it for the Carolinian last year, and got to learn so much about the process, his thought process, his creative process, his research process, and I had such a great time doing that. It's incredible, and I highly encourage everyone to tune in. There's Instagram Live and posts also, so it's very accessible and interesting. So just what's coming up, executive council meeting tomorrow, conduct team meeting, like I said, on the 8th, another governing docs committee meeting on the 8th, conduct hearings later this week, and then the student leader roundtable. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, Peyton. I'll make mine quick as well. Office hours are the same as last week. Email's there if you want to contact me. What I've been up to, meeting with Austin. I also met with the Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee, and we had a brief discussion about getting into the semester and getting some work done. You'll see some stuff with that soon coming from Edmund and the rest of his committee. As for governing docs, we've been speaking about that quite a bit. We did meet last week, and we are going to meet every week until we get ahead on this, so we can go ahead and reconstruct the Constitution and make it more equitable and more readable for everyone in SGA. Meetings with Edmund for UNCG-PD SGA collaboration. That's something I've been working on, and I brought Edmund in on that because he is actually starting a podcast, which I'm going to utilize in order to have some uncomfortable conversations with the police officers, just to have a more normal conversation, get them to take their badge off, and just have a nice conversation with us. So definitely be on the lookout for Edmund's podcast, and that. Also working on community service opportunities for SGA in order to incorporate the service-mindedness of our platform. I did get in contact with Sergeant Joyner, one of the officers on PD, and he and I have been working closely together in the past week, trying to get something to schedule a Zoom call in order to get this podcast and these videos underway for the collaboration that we're working on. I met with Jawan and Anthony yesterday, talking about some SGA stuff, their positions, and just things of that nature. For the interpreters, if you all are wondering where they are at, they actually graduated last semester, so that's why we didn't have any last week or this week. So I actually have been in contact with a couple of new interns, and they are going to start next week. So I apologize for not having them. I know we did have that piece of legislation that was incorporated last session, and last semester, and it will definitely carry on to this semester as well. And then I've been having scholarship meetings for my scholarship. And then a picture to your left here is in New York when I went there over break, and it was amazing, even though there's nothing to do during COVID. Real quick, what's coming up, special elections and appointments. As I mentioned, I'm working with Carmen on that. Silver medallion, I did start that last semester. I got so caught up in last semester that I never completed it. So I'm working on it this semester, and hopefully I can finish it so I can move on to Goldman my senior year. Allocation hearings, I'm starting that tomorrow with Anthony and the rest of the finance committee. I'll be on their governing docs committee next week, as well as more outreach initiatives, like I mentioned earlier, with the more service-minded opportunities that will be coming up. Executive council meeting starting tomorrow and will occur every Wednesday from their 4th onwards. COVID stuff as usual. I'm meeting with Austin and Peyton. And real quick shout out to Irving. The picture on my car, it was taken by him. If you all need any photography, please reach out to him. Quick plug, he is amazing at what he does, and he'll do it for a good price. I will tell you that. Moving on. Senator forum. Any senator can speak up for 2 minutes on anything pertaining to SGA. Just drop an X in the chat. Yeah, Irv, I got you with the shout out. Irv, go
I was looking at like our COVID dashboard the other day, and I know I put it in the group chat, but our cases on campus are like higher weekly than they've ever been since January. And I was wondering if you guys thought it would be a good idea to do a video like the university did at the beginning of the semester, last semester, just reminding students to wear masks, social distance, and stuff like that. Yeah.
If you want to make a video, we can.
I mean, yeah, I'll make it, but I was wondering if anyone else had any inputs on our COVID cases and stuff like that.
Austin said, let's do it. Anthony?
Just let everybody know we're going to start hearings for the allocations period tomorrow from 9 to 5. Just keep you all updated, and we'll have that proposal up to you by next Tuesday.
Thank you, Anthony. Anyone else? Yes, Peyton, for sure. When I go to stores now, I definitely make sure to put a KN95 and a cloth mask over it. Irving, everyone wants you to do this. Tanisha said she'll be the director. Dr. Kathy Akins said, cases have increased as expected due to the rising numbers in the county and state, but testing on campus positivity rates are very low. Anything SGA can do to help is encouraged. So, Irving, we're doing it. Austin will edit it. Anyone else? Going once, going twice. Announcements. So if any SGA member wants to speak on anything, they have some time to do so. Paige, your hand's up.
All right. Hey, y'all. So I've been working with Sergeant Joyner and then some more lovely individuals. Meredith was on the call too. So yeah, we just had a call. And so our safety walk should be on March 3rd or the 10th. So those are tentative dates. So just stick to that. We're trying to do about 36 students, and they're gonna try to split them up in groups of 8 or 9. So yeah, just stick to that. I'm sorry, I'm out of breath. I was running, but yeah, just let us know if y'all want to be, if y'all want to go in the walk or do the signs or anything like that. And yeah, just shoot me an email.
Thanks, Paige. And if it's easier for you, I don't know if you want to, you could drop a poll in the group chat and we can just vote to see if anyone wants to go on the little walk. Cam said we could, if you could do a sign-up sheet, Paige.
Yes, I'll make sure I make that.
Thanks, Paige. Thanks, Cam. Anyone else for announcements? Edmund, you want to talk about your podcast? No. Anyone else?
I'll talk about Evan's podcast for him since he's not here. On Friday, he's doing his first podcast about toxic masculinity. It's a really good topic and good for, I mean, not good. It's a good topic and it's interesting to talk about as a man. Y'all should definitely tune in. There's going to be some great guests.
Thank you, Irving. Anyone else for announcements? I don't think we have anyone else. So I'm going to go ahead and conclude these announcements. 1 second. Asia, if you wouldn't mind doing the adjournment roll call.
Okay. Like I'm done. Sorry.
Thanks, Asia. All right, I'm gonna go ahead and adjourn this meeting at 8:25 p.m. Thank you all for your participation today. It was a very productive meeting, and I will see you all next week.